The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, it's Vitas Kasilios, and welcome to lucky issue 13 of the CMC Solves webinar series. I want to start by saying good morning to those of you who are here in the U.S. Good early evening to those of you in the U.K. and in South Africa. And for those of you listening in from Australia, I'll have you back in the pub in 30 minutes. So let's get right to it. Today we're going to talk about how we mobilize our strategy-driven business process management automation. So what does mobile really mean in the context of trying to manage customer experiences? We'll talk about changing expectations, how the experience is therefore getting more complex with the addition of the mobile channel, and where there are opportunities to not lose customers or profits. As always, when we run these webinars, we are really in need of your commentary and your feedback. So if you either want to do the post-webinar survey, which we recommend you do at the end of this, or please send us any emails, ideas, either new topics or topics you want us to delve into more deeply, send them to the email address on the screen. So let's get right to it. The simple fact is that with the proliferation, really, of mobile and smartphone devices, customers are just leaving us behind, leaving us in their wake. Just saw some statistics recently that said that mobile web use is going to surpass the entire laptop and PC internet use by next year. And in fact, already 87% of the people in the world own a mobile phone, and 1.2 billion people are accessing the internet via mobile as their primary way of accessing the internet. So in developing countries, U.S. and others, Forrester says 37% of U.S. consumers are always addressable online, which means they have multiple devices that they're checking on a very regular basis. So the problem is we've got a bunch of traditional tools that are solving the wrong problem. 85% of the adults that transact via mobile devices report that those that transacted in the last year, they would expect that the experience on mobile is going to be better for them than on a laptop and a PC. Something happened. Trying to find it. Go back to PowerPoint. Sorry about that. Now, in fact, many consumers are expecting a smooth experience regardless of which device it is that they're using, and that's being reported all over the place. Most recently, I read a report by a guy named Bill Lawler, who's the vice president in IBM's Tea-Leaf Group. The problem with all of this, or the challenge, is that when you talk to companies about how they're doing, they would say at least a third of them rate their understanding of the mobile user's experience as being poor. So I'm going to open up a survey question right away and ask you to tell us what your feeling is about your bank's understanding of your mobile user experience. So I'm going to launch the poll, give you a few seconds to come back. Would you say that your mobile strategy is excellent and you know exactly what consumers want, like these two sitting on the bus in the photo? Or good, you have a mobile strategy at least. Or fair, you're thinking about getting to a mobile strategy. Or poor, we should be thinking about mobile but are in fact not. Or terrible, we haven't even got a clue about and haven't started thinking about the impact of mobile. I'll leave it open for just a couple more seconds. It looks like there's a lot of opportunity for improvement based on the answers. We're in the fair to poor range, largely. Okay, thank you for those answers. I'm going to move on. So the problem with our traditional tools is that they're solving the wrong problem. The existing systems that we have are organized around the wrong, or not wrong, but different users and use cases as to who and when we were expecting our customers to interact with us. They're all interacting with us over different data models by silo that are organized around different operating models within the organization that are managed by different organizational hierarchies and in many cases run on different hardware and software platforms. So the who, what, when, where, why, and how is actually all oriented toward our point of view as banks and of our existing systems, peoples, and systems, people, and capabilities instead of being oriented toward the customer's perspective. So IBM is writing recently about the need for a consistent mobile experience, and we would say that's wrong, that the real answer is what is needed isn't a mobile experience. What's needed is a single unified experience regardless of touch point or whether I initiated or you initiated the interaction or when it happened or what we were trying to accomplish. We need to find a way that works regardless of the answer to any of those criteria. And just lashing systems together after the fact misses the whole point, because after the fact integration is always trying to chase what happened, and the key point in a mobile world is doing things in real time. So how important is mobile? Well, mobile is clearly a part of the customer's experience, and a big part in that in addition to calling us on the phone, they receive emails and they receive texts and they receive URLs that allow them to go online from a laptop or a mobile or from their home computer, but it's only part of the experience. And the other part of customer experience management, which we believe is even more important, is to look at things from the customer's perspective. So the customer says, who do I need to talk to, whether talk means interacting via email or text, or whether talk means actually physically talking to someone. And quite often, more and more, our customers are saying, can I do it without needing to actually talk to a person? And the next thing the customer worries about is what is it that the bank needs or wants from me in order for the bank to resolve my issue? And how do I get them what they need quickly and painlessly, as opposed to the traditional, I got to mail or fax it and then wait days or weeks and then call a bunch of times to confirm that you got it? And from my point of view as a customer, how do I get what I want quickly and painlessly? And why can't I do it when I want to do it instead of when the bank is open? Same issue we've all dealt with in terms of using ATM machines, getting our cash and making our deposits any time of the day or night that we want. But with this whole new world of online and mobile opportunities, customers not only want to be able to do what they want when they want, but we get bonus points for showing them that we really know them and that we know what they want before they ask for it. And I've heard expressed many different times the little parenthetical there, what I wouldn't give for some useful suggestions from my bank that are oriented toward my individual situation, not unlike what Amazon does when I go online and try to buy something. So doing customer experience management the right way offers tremendous benefit to the bank, starting with the ability to manage a single unified dialogue, which then yields fewer contacts but better contacts that leads to lower cost to serve that customer. Resolving matters via treatments and programs and the right offers allows us to have higher effectiveness. And doing those things means that we'll retain more of our customers and find add-on sales opportunities. And the unintended side benefit of a single unified dialogue managing the customer experience comprehensively is the added benefit of provable compliance, which, as we know, the regulators have made very clear that their point of view is they take the customer's perspective and will judge our performance on the basis of the customer's perspective, not on the basis of the systems and the difficulties that we have in satisfying those customers. So I'm going to ask you a very detailed question now and open a poll on this one, which is, what percentage would you say of your customer interactions today require internal manual processes to complete? And by manual processes, I mean something like using paper forms or opening up an Excel spreadsheet. So anywhere from none of your customer interactions require that to almost all of them is a fair answer. And I'll give you another 5 or 6 seconds. I see lots of people chiming in. It looks like we're fixating around about half of them. Okay, interesting. Thank you. I'm going to close the poll and move on. So how do we get from where we are to that bright, sunny day that we can say that we do customer experience management the right way? And I think that we have to understand how we get there in the context of first defining and agreeing on and understanding the goal. Many different people are talking about customer experience management in the press and in marketing literature, and what they tend to mean is trying to get your web experience to feel joined up with your other web experiences, and maybe your web experience joined up with what you are seeing in other media. But to really understand the entire experience your customers have, you've got to look at it across the contact touch points, whether it be your mobile or web access, the interactive voice response recordings that you're sending, the emails, the text, the letters, and the conversations they're having with your agents. And then within those touch points, what content, whether it be disclosures or actual documents, are you putting in front of the customer? And then what steps are you drawing them through? I'm calling that the context. Are you requiring them to provide documents or images of documents? Are you requiring them to confirm certain information? Are you requiring them to enter information? So that gets to the capture. Are you asking your customers to provide you with real-time information that you then are going to use in redecisioning and responding to them? Whether that redecisioning is happening in the mind of a judgmentally enabled agent or whether it's happening in some computer system, you're still gathering information from customers, using what you've captured to then make a determination of what your response should be. And when you're capturing, are you capturing documents? Are you capturing verifications of documents? Are you capturing metadata about the documents? And when I say metadata, I mean if I'm getting an image from Mrs. Jones, is there a step in the process where somebody looks at the image and confirms what's in that image so that I can then use that in my strategy? And finally, what are our responses to the customer? Are we revising the offers and treatments and settlements that we're offering this customer? Are we revising the terms of their indebtedness? Are we sending them alerts and notifications on where they stand in various processes? And are we sending them confirmation that we've gotten information or that they've completed the steps in a process? So step one was really understand and identify the whole customer experience that you're trying to manage. And then step two would be to map out that single dialogue that you'd like to have with your customer. So in the perfect world that we want, we'd start with a strategy on how we'd like to deal with all of our customers, and then we would take each customer through a process where we'd do whatever segmentation or segmentation-driven decisioning we want to do. If it's applicable, what are the workflow steps we want to take that customer through? What is the specific content that customer should be receiving, whether it's a document or a disclosure, or whether they're providing a document or whatever? And what kind of offers am I willing to make to that customer based on what I know going into the strategy or based on what I capture as I'm busy interacting with the customer? So that then, of course, behind the scenes has other implications like, well, what am I doing with my inventory if it's outbound files that I'm managing, say, in collections? What queues am I going to build and which agent populations are going to work with which cases so that I know that I manage my operation? But as you can see from this diagram, we're focusing entirely on the customer perspective here of what do I need to do from strategy to customer and back that involves the changes that I'm going to make and how I want to deal with that customer, regardless of which touch point will be chosen to interact with that customer on a given issue, right? And so we're really trying to chart out the course. And then the step three would be to find somebody, internal or external, who has technical capability to pull all these pieces together, who understands the business subject matter that you're trying to solve for, somebody who presumably has worked in banking and has PCI compliant technology and can deal with the security and data integrity and InfoSec issues that you're worried about. Preferably somebody who's created these kind of unified dialogues before so that it's somebody who can help assure that you'll be successful. So I'm going to turn to survey question 3 now and launch a survey that says, okay, so given that I probably didn't tell you something you don't already know, what's stopping us? What's preventing us from implementing a new solution that can manage both our business processes or workflows and our decisioning getting executed? And what's stopping us from then opening up the new channels of communication, whether it be text or email or just mobile messaging? And what is stopping us from getting rid of those manual processes? So I'm seeing, money is an issue. I'm hearing, I'm seeing some all of the above, and I'm seeing some other more urgent priorities being addressed. Okay, very good. One of the ones that I would have put on the list if I wrote the question better would be legal is stopping us from doing what we're trying to do. But let's get to that in a minute. So let's get to what CMC can do, since this is a CMC Solves seminar. What is it that CMC can do to help? And just stated baldly, we have a platform called CredAgility that delivers a single unified customer dialogue, both strategy and execution. Within CredAgility, our clients are building intelligent contact strategies that are built in a sequence that leverages the lower cost channels first, and can build in compliant contact strategies and execute those strategies compliantly. And then, beyond just the outbound contact, there's the notion of individualizing a consistent customer experience regardless of channel. So the analysts all call that omni-channel experience these days. The point is that you want that omni-channel experience to be consistent and rule-driven regardless of who or where the customer's interacting. And you need it to be mobile-friendly, tablet-friendly, PC-friendly, and significantly, you need it to be just as friendly to the agent as it is for the customer interacting across all these different channels. The third really key thing is that we deliver through a single data store the ability for our clients to run data-driven strategies and workflows, or business process automations, and within those strategies and workflows to capture information from customers and redecision that customer's situation on the fly. Also significantly, we've added in the last year document and disclosure capability that can therefore be contextualized because it's data-driven per specific event. What I mean is that when a letter or an email or a text goes out or a disclosure is popped up on a mobile device or on a PC or a laptop, those disclosures and documents have the right context-specific data for that particular customer. So if I'm mailing a letter to somebody in New Hampshire, the mini Miranda on that letter in collections is at the 9-point font that they require. And if I'm making a disclosure to someone in New South Wales in Australia, I've got the appropriate APRA-approved wording for my compliance disclosure. And the ability to do that, because everything in CredAgility is data-driven at the individual customer level, is key, because when you add the last bit, which is the ability to capture images of documents on the inbound side and tie them to individual workflows, that means I can now take some of my manual processes and greatly speed them up while I'm getting the customer to do my data entry. So both reducing my effort, speeding the time to closure or resolution of a situation, but also reducing the errors because I'm counting on the customer to do it, and they know they've got the right document at the right time that has the right information. So let's talk about a couple of very quick examples of how CredAgility has created these kind of joined up processes. So joined up's a British term. This is a nod to our friends across the pond. We would call it a seamlessly integrated process, and that's the sort of buzzword du jour here. But over in Great Britain, they call them joined up, thinking joined up processes. And by that, they mean that it's complete and comprehensive and end-to-end. So take just, I've got the problem of wanting to do credit line increases, but I want to do them in a way that complies with the OCC guidelines, and I'd like to automate as much of it as possible. So from a strategy standpoint, I'm going to figure out what my criteria are as to which of my customers are eligible and at what thresholds each of them are eligible for what kind of a line increase. Then I'm going to go through an exercise of segmenting that current customer base to make sure I send the right enticement letters or text or emails or whatever to the right people in my list. When I get those people, I want to ask them specific questions that relate to the OCC's guidance that I need verified stated income, and apply a set of decision rules based on the responses to determine what my response is going to be and what the content of that response is based on different rules and different data that are entered, and ultimately what credit line increase I can offer, have the customer accept and fulfill. And I want to do that through select touch points. I might not do it through every single one. I want to get to the customer in a way that's very convenient and cost effective. So in our specific case, we've automated it so that the enticement goes out to the current customers, and they can either call an agent or they can go online or on mobile, and it doesn't matter to us from a customer experience which way they choose. So in that early segmentation and decisioning, the top box in my little workflow, you see that the enticement itself, whether it be a letter or a PDF or an email or even a mobile message, can be built in our template manager and delivered directly out of CredAgility. Within CredAgility's command center, you have this decision tree manager that allows you to set which people and within their segment nodes get which channel communications, and even when they answer questions, what offers are they able to qualify for. That's all managed within CredAgility off the same data store as if, regardless of whether they're coming in via web or whether they're coming in via agent. And what happens is you render out that workflow is the list of questions that you want to have answered, which is a very simple list in the case of the credit line increase application, would be rendered the same whether it's on the mobile device or whether it's on the website. And by the same, I mean it's the same questions, and it would be the same questions whether I'm looking at it remotely through a mobile or a laptop or a PC, or if my agents are bringing up the questions on screen. Obviously, it's not exactly the same because we'll render it differently based on the devices. But the important part from a business point of view is that the customers are being asked the same consistent set of questions, and their responses are driving the same consistent set of offers and the same consistent set of content in terms of fulfillment and what you say in the congratulations letter or the thank you, please contact us later letter. So if you look at the interaction between the borrower and the bank, which is principally these surveys that you want to have them answer, it's exactly the same between web or mobile and an agent conversation. It's just in one case you're speaking to the agent and they're keying in the answers for you, and in another case you're reading the questions and keying in the answers yourself. Therefore, your evidence of the willingness and ability and your proof of fair and consistent treatment is exactly yours to control within the parameters you set in your decision tree manager as to how answer A, B, C, D translates into offer A, B, C, D. And those offers are completely individualized, and you now have a complete audit trail at the individual account level for exactly what happened. So you can say Mrs. Jones got the enticement and went to the website and filled in these 3 questions and got this answer based on this line of credit increase based on her answers. Mr. Smith got the email, clicked through on his laptop, went through and answered the questions himself, and got the line increase that was indicated by the rules. And Mr. McGillicuddy saw the letter but was on his way to work, so he logged in from his mobile device, answered the same questions, got the same exact treatment in that the credit line increase offer was individualized to the answers that he gave. So you've got both account level audit trail and you've got the MIS that would allow you to look at all of the policies and how they were implemented that you can also log and prove. So from a CMC Solve standpoint, we've got consistency and fairness nailed. We've got the ability to gather additional data, specifically income and employment from these customers, that results in an individualized program based on what the customers inputted, leaving us with an account level audit trail, and it was very cost effective. Another example, I'd like to automate my income and expense capture in order to get hardship programs accepted. And I'd be happy to do it from a customer on the phone or somebody keying it on the web or somebody working through their mobile device and us taking the digital input of documents and making it available for the agents. So the way this one works is a little bit more broad than the last one because I'd like to use CredAgility to do my segmentation and decisioning and decide on different letters maybe for different subpopulations. So, you know, some people I'm just going to say, you know, send us payment because I'm sending you a letter, and I'm going to direct them to try to log into the website and do their normal thing. Other folks for whom I have a valid address might get an email or a text with a very simple just click here to pay that basically brings them to a micro page within the site that just presents them with the payment options. Other people for whom I want to give them some alternatives might receive a letter that says, why don't you see the offers at this URL, and they can do that off their mobile or off their computer device, and they'll just see the status and what offers there are. And finally, I want to talk about this population, which I segment out and say, these are the high-risk people I'm worried about. So I'm going to mail or text them a specific offer, and when they click on it, they'll be immediately prompted to go through an INE, where when they fill in their information, I may say, okay, I know enough, but now I need to prompt you for a document, and I'm going to show you how we verify and confirm that document. Again, within CredAgility, we'll manage all the touch points using the Decision Tree Manager, and down to different kinds of campaigns for different sub-segments of the population. Then we can manage their eligibility for various programs that can be a function of how they answered certain questions, because those question responses become variables that I can use to calculate the programs, including, for some people, a hardship settlement or whatever, right? So at the same time, within the same CredAgility platform, I would identify the workflow steps that I want a given customer to go through based on a set of entry criteria that tells me who qualifies for this particular workflow, and then within the workflow I can create tasks that are a series that contain a series of questions where I'm going to gather some input from the customer. I'm also going to define in the same CredAgility platform any documents I need to drive out to the customer or take back from the customer, including any variables that I might be filling in based on what the customer just inputted when I gave them the survey questions. And what that means then is that the customer could be on their mobile, or on, in this case it's an online INE that was presented to the customer upon login, because this particular customer met the entry criteria that said, hey, when Vitas logs in, make sure we get these questions answered because we think he's high risk. Then fills in these questions and is prompted at a certain point, I've got everything I need from you, Vitas. Now I need you to upload these supporting documents. Now, if you're working off a PC, you might be browsing it. If you're working off of a mobile device, you might take a picture of the document in question and then make it available. Either way, when the agent working your account opens the account, they'll be prompted with the fact that there's a document. They can look at the document image that was uploaded, whether from the PC or from the mobile device. They can then confirm that that document is the correct one and that your case is complete, so that the program, the hardship program, is now confirmed, which would generate alerts or email notifications out to you. That whole thing could happen on one phone conversation where you call in and the agent says, can you take a picture of this document and upload it to me, I'll confirm it and complete the program. So what we're doing here is taking a back and forth that could take weeks and then literally streamlining it to whether it could take minutes. Even if you have the case where the customer needs to make a wedding signature, that can be accommodated because you're giving them a document they can print, sign, and re-scan or image into your smartphone and get it to you. So in this particular example, we show the interoperability between the agents and between various systems, and that the ability to gather the additional data in a workflow isn't limited to just key entry of data, but also includes document images. So I can both capture the figures from the INE and the hardship letter proving the whatever hard copy proof I need. And we can still do individualized programs. We still have the audit trail and cost-effective solution. So in summary, all of these solutions share these attributes. This combined execution of both workflow and decisioning in one place. A single data model, which gives you a single control point for strategy and for the execution of that strategy, and a single point of transparency so you can track and report on everything that happened. And from the customer's point of view, a single dialogue regardless of where they interacted with you that leads to provable compliance. That means, therefore, you can drive lower expense through automation, more effective resolutions by having more intelligent strategies that drive these unified dialogues. You can prove consistency and fairness because it's all driven by systemic business rules. And by the way, it's equally applicable whether you're dealing with an agency or an internal operations situation. Because we're cloud-based and a managed service, it's a quick win that's easy to deploy and faster and cheaper and easier than building it yourselves. So that's what I had for today's webinar. I have time, it looks like, for just one question. Got a question here that says, are you guys finding attorneys willing to accept a mobile phone image as an acceptable form of customer documentation? Great question. So the answer to that one is that we are being told by our clients that yes, their attorneys are fine with it as long as the image quality is good enough and the key wording is decipherable from the image. So if the thing the lawyer cares about is the clause at the bottom, then make sure your image includes a legible clause at the bottom, or they won't admit it even if they normally say images from iPhones are acceptable. I have more questions coming in. I don't have enough time. I'm trying to keep to my 30-minute promise. So thank you all. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Thanks for your time.